It's another Music Monday here on Front of House. Welcome to the North Hollywood Hideout, my friends. My name is Mike Dawson. Glad you can join us for the Stereo Music Podcast. Today, our guest on Front of House is Ted Russell Kamp. Ted and I are going to sit down and we're going to talk a lot about songwriting and songs and the art and the craft and what makes a great song. What makes a great songwriter? Ted's one of the best. He's one of the best songwriters that I personally know. And if you are a songwriter, this is the Front of House episode for you. We'll get with Ted Russell Kamp here in just a few minutes. First off, I want to thank Rode Microphones. I also want to thank JBL and Harman Audio for helping make this show possible. We release this show in stereo, and we are across all formats. Apple, Stitcher. I'm not sure if we're on Pandora yet, but we're getting there. And if you go to Podbean, I believe that is that's the home of Front of House this time around. Now, a lot of you have been listening to the old Front of Houses, which were hosted on SoundCloud. Get those and download them as soon as you can, because they're not going to be available there much longer. Now, if you have that old link, that old SoundCloud link, and you're subscribing to it, delete that link, go to our Twitter page, FOH Pod, and click on the link in the bio there and subscribe to the podcast. That's the new link. A lot of changes around here, and we're happy to have you on board with us. Last Tuesday night, we did our very first Front of House Live. That was fun. It was kind of an experiment this time around. We just set up an iPhone camera and a nice audio feed to a live YouTube feed. I sat out at the bar, drank a couple of beers. You guys hung out with me, and we watched the live performance from M. the Heir Apparent. A week from tomorrow night, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have the live taping of Ted Russell Kamp in studio. So the show you're about to hear, you have a chance to watch it live on YouTube next Tuesday night, so mark it on your calendars. And follow us at FOH Pod and me at Dos Angeles for all of the updates. This season of Front of House is dedicated to Jenny Pagliaro. We're playing a new song from Jenny's band Roses and Cigarettes. Their latest release is called Echoes in Silence. And man, this record just gets underneath your skin. It is so good. Talk about songwriting. Every week on Front of House throughout the summer, playing a new track in order from the record Echoes in Silence. Angela Petrilli and Jenny Pagliaro really did some masterful work on this. And it was produced by Michael Lyons, an incredible musician out here in North Hollywood. Great bass player, but great producer. Mike, well done, my friend. On to track number 3 from Echoes in Silence from Roses and Cigarettes. You are tuned to Front of House. This one's called Back to You.
Searching down a road that leads to nowhere. Get cold when you're not there. You told me that you'd return like a fool. I listen to your word, 'cause nothing else matters when I'm lying next to you. Lie to myself, say you're true. You say you love me, I think you don't. I don't care. All I want, can't help myself. You know it's true. Keep on coming back to you. I keep on coming back to you. Each day I fall a bit deeper. Can't stop now, keep pushing further. My eyes are blind, I choose not to see. I know I'll pay you all I need, 'cause nothing else matters when I'm lying next to you. Lie to myself, I say you're true. You say you love me, I think you don't. I don't care. You're all I want. Can't help myself. You know it's true. Keep on coming back to you. I keep on coming back to you. Keep on coming, baby. Nothing else matters when I'm lying next to you. Lie to myself, I say you're true. You say you love me, I think you don't. I don't care. All I want, can't help myself. You know it's true. Keep on coming back to you. Keep on coming back to you. Keep on coming, baby, back to you.
One of the things that I really love about this band is their harmonies, the way Angela and Jenny sing together. Angela Petrilli on the BGVs, as we call them in the biz. That stands for background vocals. BGV. It's just cool to say BGV. Anyway, this is Front of House. Thank you for being here, my friends. Be sure to visit us on Patreon. If you pay $3 a month at patreon.com/front of house, you already have a mastered MP3 from Ted Russell Kamp in your inbox. Bury yourself into your headphones and let's learn about songwriting with the great Ted Russell Kamp. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Ted Russell Kamp is Front of House.
Doesn't seem so long ago this old guitar was new, but I can fill 1,000 pages with the stories we've been through. All the lonely nights and teardrops, bad chords and busted M's, songs of love and danger, broken hearts and sweet romance. This old guitar ain't done just yet. You play rock and roll long enough, the blues is what you get. Now we've weathered all these years, every storm and scar, and you know I'm even older than this old guitar. She's got her share of scratches and even a bruise or two, but when the finish has worn down, the bare wood will have to do. She knows just what I'm thinking, and she plays just what I feel. It's like there is a part of me that's made of wood and steel. This old guitar ain't done just yet. You play rock and roll long enough, the blues is what you get. Now we've weathered all these years, and every storm and scar, and you know I'm even older than this old guitar. guitar. You ain't done just yet. You play rock and roll long enough, the blues is what you get. Now we've weathered all these years, and every storm and scar, and you know I'm even older than this old guitar. I said, you know I'm even older than this old guitar.
Ted Russell Kamp is front of house. This old guitar from the brand new record, Walking Shoes. Ted, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks. It's good to be back.
It's great to have you here again. This is bringing back a nice little flood of memories.
Yeah.
We had some good times over at Ireland 32. I was talking to you earlier about the first time I ever had my TRK experience. I went to a Shooter show at the El Rey Theater when I first moved to LA, and Shooter had two opening bands that night. You played bass in the first one. You played bass in your own band and fronted for the second opener, and then you played bass in Shooter's band. And I thought, I got to know this guy.
There's a lot of music. It was a
good
night, and I'm glad it worked. I'm glad we actually met.
Me too. So the new album, Walking Shoes, it's available everywhere right now. I recommend you get it. Let's talk about this old guitar. Why don't you introduce us to your girl there?
This is a Gibson. I got it in maybe 2006, 2007. It's a reissue of an old one. It's the Nick Lucas model, and Nick Lucas is the guy who had the original hit with Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
I'm not familiar with that.
You know the Tiny Tim, Tiptoe Through the Tulips.
Okay.
Anyway, but it was a big hit in like 1931.
Okay.
Or something, or I'm close, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not exactly 1931. But this is also theoretically the same model that Robert Johnson used to play.
Really?
Yeah.
Now there's a guy I know.
Yeah, I like it because it's little and it's thick, so it's boxy. It's got a great kind of mid-rangey tone. It plays well, and it's great to record with.
I wrote a paper on Robert Johnson when I was in college.
Nice.
And I believe it was for a music class. If it wasn't for a music class, it'd be an awfully strange paper to write. But that guy, all the stories surrounding his death, nobody really knows exactly what happened. My favorite story is somebody handed him a beer that was open. The bar owner, whose wife Robert Johnson was messing around with. So he handed Robert Johnson an open beer, and one of Robert's buddies knocks it out of his hand and says, "Don't you know better than to drink something somebody gives you that's open?" And Robert Johnson looked at the guy and said, "Don't you know better than to knock a drink out of my hand?" And then he got another beer, open, laced with strychnine, died foaming at the mouth. Welcome to the show. This is Front of House.
What we have to look forward to in a career of music.
There you go. Hey, you play rock and roll long enough, the blues is all you get.
That's
I love
right.
that line. I'm always fascinated by your songwriting.
Thank you.
You make it seem so easy. I know it's not, but maybe it is easier for you than others.
I think after you do it for a while, you get better at it, like anything. And you also get... I don't know. You also get this thing of like certain songs know what they want to become.
Ooh.
And part of you has to help it and massage it to get it there. And then part of you has to kind of just get out of the way.
So kind of almost let the song write itself.
In a way,
almost.
but some songs, like I'll come up with an idea and then I realize, wow, it really just needs to be fun and charming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be a diary entry kind of a song. And then other songs want to be poetic.
Right.
And you have to let it go there. Some of the songs want to be very literal and a very specific, like a classic country music, like just a story, and getting to enjoy the diversity in those songs. And then after a while, you have enough of them. You're like, I want to make an album of whatever the new stuff I've been up to this last year or two.
Right.
And then they kind of end up in little batches. I've had great songs that just never made a record because they didn't fit on the record, just kind of subject matter-wise or contextually or mood-wise or genre-wise. And then sometimes you have a song you're like, I hit on something. I need to do more of this. This is getting close to the truth for me. And then that often kind of becomes kind of a mission statement song that helps me write the rest of the album.
So is this new record, Walking Shoes, a lot of it, is it a collection of stuff that you had written before that didn't have a place? Or was this kind of written over various tours?
I'd say 3 or 4 of the songs are older that actually didn't make an older record. I was doing a lot of traveling the last. I'm a professional musician, so
absolutely.
I do a lot of session work and playing and producing and stuff at home here in LA, and then I do a lot of touring. And as I was getting into the 2 or 3 songs that really were kind of becoming my favorite new songs, that would be the centerpiece of the record. I was realizing that some are literally about traveling, and some are more using traveling as a metaphor. Some of them have to do with the old. It's not about the destination; it's about the journey.
Sure.
Some have to do with missing my family at home. Some are the celebration of traveling and making music and making new friends and seeing, going back to a faraway place and seeing old friends and having it feel like a home away from home. So it became kind of a traveling album.
Okay.
And so a lot of the tunes are a little more country based than usual for me. Some are more. It's kind of a consistently kind of up tempo and grooving. It's a good driving record.
Mm-hmm.
And Walking Shoes became the title because I mentioned Walking Shoes in a couple of the songs.
The recurring theme.
And it became a recurring theme. And it also became, it's like if you want to grow and change and explore, the first thing you need to do is you put on those shoes and get out of the house and take a risk.
It's an anthem. It happen. It's an anthem.
Yeah.
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 All right.
So that's what that's why. And I also like the Walking Shoes as a thing because it's like everybody has a pair of walking shoes and
sure.
No one ever talks about them, but we know the feeling and the comfort and that they help you kind of get out of the way of your own self and issues and just kind of get out and do something, make a change, Well,
the beginning of that song, This Old Guitar, reminded me a little bit of the band, The Weight.
Yeah.
That opening lick. And
then, that riff is on, I love the band.
Yeah.
And so there's some sort of a nod to the band on pretty much every record I do.
Nice.
And so that song is kind of like, and in fact, that walk down is very much like something the band would have done.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that about them.
Well, it kind of got me thinking about, I went from the band on my mind and then to Little Feat and then thinking about Laurel Canyon Country and then realizing Ted Russell Kamp has called Los Angeles home for quite some time now.
Yeah.
Is this
15 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love LA. And one of the reasons I moved here was just the sheer size of the city and the possibilities of making music with great people.
Sure.
And having a career in music. And it was also, I was just such a big fan of so much stuff, movies, writers, and musicians that came out of LA. So it's kind of, as a fan, loving Lowell George and Little Feat and Jackson Brown and Crosby, Stills and Nash,
sure.
And then Tom Petty, not from here. Actually, most of these artists were not from here. But they moved here and kind of absorbed some of the magic, and it became a big part of their sound and what they do. Los Lobos, Dwight Yoakam, kind of the list goes on and on. Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, the list, Jerry Mulligan.
Right.
The list goes on and on.
Dripping with musical history.
Yeah.
We are front of house with Ted Russell Kamp. The new album is called Walking Shoes. I recommend you pick it up, and if you do, get it at tedrussellkamp.com so that Ted gets the money and iTunes does not. Let's hear another song, Ted.
All right, great. Okay, here's a fun one. This one's called The Last Drop. Gonna drink the last drop from the bottom of the well. said I drank the last drop from the bottom of the well. I'm gonna be the first in the morning up to see the sun, the last man standing when the day is done, and I drink the last drop from the bottom of the well. I'm gonna see the first twinkling star light up the sky. I said I see the first twinkling star light up the sky. I'm gonna let it shine down, 'cause stars don't lie, and watch it put that look in your eye. See the first twinkling star light up the sky. And if I gotta walk a million miles, I will. Step by little step to the top of the hill. Whoa, when I fall off, I'm gonna get back on with a smile as wide as the day is long. 'Cause at the end of it all, for you I'm gonna sing my song. If I gotta walk a million miles, I will. Step by little step to the top of the hill. Whoa, when I fall off, I'm gonna get back on with a smile as wide as the day is long. But at the end of it all, for you I'm gonna sing my song. I'm gonna pull that blossom from a honeysuckle vine. Said I pulled that blossom from a honeysuckle vine. And that little bit of nectar gonna taste so fine. I'm gonna give it to you, baby, and make you mine. I pulled that blossom from a honeysuckle vine. Oh no, I'm gonna pull that blossom from a honeysuckle vine. Whoa, baby, I'm gonna drink the last drop from the bottom of the well.
Ted Russell Kamp, front of house. There's an anthem for you.
Want to live life to the fullest, you know?
Yeah, I love that. You know, when I started this show, I had essentially three things in mind: a person, a guitar, and a point.
Okay.
And this is it. This is Ted Russell Kamp, everybody. This is all three.
Well, that's the goal, you know?
We were talking last time you were here about your background in, I want to say, New York.
Yeah, I'm from New York.
Okay. And you had gone to a lot of musical theater with your family, with your parents.
Oh, good memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I did a lot as a kid, I started playing trumpet in the 4th grade. Everybody in the public schools of New York State had to either join the choir or play an instrument.
Really?
And I was mortally afraid of having to sing in public. So I got a trumpet.
There's no singing with a trumpet.
No.
Yeah.
So I played trumpet, and I got really into it. I loved it. And my mom was a big musical theater fan.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad would take me to jazz shows, and my mom would take me to musical theater. We went to New York City regularly. And so even as a little kid, I know that that was inspiring. And it also kind of, I had access to like really seriously professional music and shows
Absolutely.
At a young age. And I got to know what that felt like, you know? And then as I got into music and playing in rock bands, it's like you want it to be great.
Well, really,
you don't know how to make it great for many years, but that I think that's part of why and how I got better at music, is having access to that stuff when I was a child.
It certainly shines through in your performance and your songwriting. I mean, some of those staccato licks, I don't even know if that's the right word, but I thought I'd use a 3-syllable music word.
It's a good one.
That's 4.
It's a good one.
Isn't it 4? No, I can't even count.
Domo staccato.
Domo
Mr.
arigato.
Roboto. No.
Right. But no, it really shows on your song structure, and that just struck me when you were playing that song, that you were not only being entertained, you were sucking in knowledge this whole time.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, you're not aware of it sometimes, but like, I mean, a song like that, is kind of roughly, it's inspired by what I love about New Orleans music. So even though it's kind of a blues progression, you know, and then that's quite a little jazz moment right there.
Yeah.
Little Randy Newman. Yeah, totally. That's very some of the things I love about classic New Orleans jazz that's why that song exists.
That's great. It goes to the right places at the right times. That's a fantastic song.
Good.
So producing this record, I'm curious about the process. Did you try to get in and cut it all at once?
One of the things I love doing is, because I write a lot, is when I'll have 2 or 3 songs I'm really excited about, I'll just book a session, a one-day session, and I'll call up a drummer and a guitarist friend of mine, or a keyboard player friend of mine, and I'll just say, hey, I got 2 or 3 new songs, let's just do this for a day. And so I'll end up with a bunch of these songs living on my hard drive after a year,
okay,
or a couple years. And then certain ones will stay in my memory and rise to the top, and I immediately want to work on them and like get them to the point where they could be on a record, even if I'm not actually making a record now. And other ones will just sit there. And then what happened with this one is I had 3 or 4 that were close to done, and then I had 3 or 4 that were kind of brand new that I was super excited about. So this is a good California story. So I had a friend, got a great engineer named Kyle Mann, who works at a studio not far from here, actually. It's in Burbank. It's called the Speakeasy. And I had an old Wurlitzer, one of my favorite keyboards in the world. Anyway, I sold it to Kyle. And he said, how about this? I'll give you $400 or $600 or something, plus a free studio day. So I said, great. So I sold him the keyboard, and then had this kind of just free day floating around. I didn't know what I was going to use it for. The studio has a great Hammond organ and a great piano. So I thought I would just go in and do overdubs for a day. And then I had just done a gig with Shooter in, I think it was Santa Cruz, and it was the end of pot growing season. So I don't know if you've been up there at that time of the year, but because of all the medicinal marijuana growers are only allowed to have a certain amount of marijuana for the number of licenses that they have and medical permits that they have. So 95% of the year, they're doing just fine. But then at the height of harvest time, they have 10 times more weed than they're supposed to have. And they have to harvest it to save it, and that's how they, of course, make a living. So we played during that time. And so, of course, we play well. Not of course, but we played well.
Right.
And all of these beautiful stoners and pot farm owners are just giving us mason jars full of buds of weed. And I like getting stoned occasionally, but I'm not one of the stoners in the band, and I barely ever get stoned, But I saved the weed. And then I was like, hey, I've got 3 or 4 new songs I really want to record. I've got a free studio day. Which friends of mine are great musicians who also work for pot? So I financed the day almost entirely on trade and gifted marijuana. So the band was John Schreffler, great friend of mine, wonderful guitarist who also plays with Shooter and me. Jamie Douglas, who also plays drummer and friend and also plays with Shooter. A guy named Dan Wistrom. And then even some of the overdubs were financed with the leftover weed. So it was pretty awesome to have this totally world-class, wonderful studio day. And I ended up kind of just buying everybody lunch.
Weed is a
and
commodity.
Making them go home happy.
Especially in this business. But that's a pretty smart way to look at it.
It was wonderful. But we recorded, I think, 8 or 9 songs that day. I said, I want to make this fun. I'm going to show you, I had done 3 or 4 of those songs with those guys on my gigs. So they were familiar with some of them. And some of them were brand new. And I was just like, we're going to spend like a half hour, 45 minutes on each song. And we're just going to keep on rolling and do as many songs as we possibly can.
And I think maybe like 6 or 7 of the songs from that day ended up on the record. And so there were some of the 3 or 4, like I said, were some of the ones I was super excited to record. One song, Freeway Mona Lisa, is a song I actually started like 20 years ago and loved the chorus and loved the first verse and hated and just knew the second verse wasn't right. And so that's one that was never on a record forever. And then a couple of years ago, I was in Holland and I got together. I was doing a tour over in the Netherlands and Europe. And there's a great singer-songwriter buddy of mine who promotes 1 or 2 shows I love doing, but he's also just a really wonderful, respected songwriter, Eric DeVries. And so I said, hey, I got this song. Will you help me finish it? So we rewrote the second verse, and then it sat around on my computer again for another 3 years. And then I pulled it out that day, and it ended up becoming this wonderful kind of moody, psychedelic song, mysterious song.
Now, when you pulled it out after 3 years, did you overdub much? Did you recut it? What did you keep? What did you?
I had never actually recorded it.
Okay.
So it was just the song and the lyric and like the work tape is when you have like you write the song and you just kind of do an acoustic guitar and vocal, either into your Pro Tools rig or into your phone,
right?
Or back in the day it would have been into your tape recorder. So it was just the song living in my mind and this little simplified version that I had. So and I had done it a couple times at Ireland's 32 actually with John. Because it's a very easy song. One of the great things about, or one of the things to learn about doing jam session kind of gigs, is it's good to have a good arsenal of a handful of really easy songs. So you can say the verse is C sharp to E, and the chorus is F sharp minor to A to E, and that's the whole song. So that people can immediately be comfortable and start sounding good on it.
Right.
You know, it doesn't do anybody good if I do a jam session and I'm at a jam session and I call a song that's too complex and just makes other people look foolish, makes me unhappy that we're not sounding as good as I wish we were on this song, and then you're in danger of the band falling apart. So that was one of these super easy songs that just has a vibe and a mood and there's something special about it. So I pulled it out I pulled it out this day of the recording session. If it had been one of those days where I was like, I got 3 songs and we're going to do them right, then the song probably would not have ended up on the album. But because I was coming in with the mindset of we're going to do as many songs as we can and it's going to be fun and easy, I threw this song in and we did it probably 3 times maybe. And the last take is the one on the record. And then I overdubbed a little Wurlitzer and piano. And then I had a friend of mine, actually 2 women, Emily Zuzik, great singer and songwriter I'm working with in the area, sang harmony, and then Jamie Wyatt.
I love Jamie Wyatt.
She also sang harmony on that song.
Jamie's fantastic. She's starting to blow up a little bit.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful. We're actually recording a new record with her starting next week, and I'll be playing on it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd love to drop by that session if I may.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. It'll be a good one.
Right on. Freeway Mona Lisa, you feel like playing it?
No.
Okay.
It's thank you for asking, and I'm sorry I talked so much about it. But it's like it's a vibe
psychedelia
song you need the band to play. It doesn't work as well solo.
Okay.
You know.
Well, you make an interesting point though, and something that people in bands who often find themselves at jam sessions could really do well taking a note from you. Have an arsenal of simple songs.
Yeah, and sometimes you're on stage with a couple guys who really understand country music but are not really rockers. Mm-hmm. So maybe don't pull out that Elton John song.
Yeah.
Or that Jackson Browne song. Right. But pull out Folsom Prison Blues.
Sure.
Some of the country guys, everyone knows it. Everyone's going to sound good on it right away.
Right.
And if you're in the band, if you're up there with a bunch of guys who play funk really well or whatever, you gear your kind of singer-songwriter, mellow, Neil Young, Harvest kind of stuff, then pull out songs they know and that everyone's going to be comfortable with and sound good on.
Sounds good.
Music is a team. It's kind of neat that the first time we met was at a gig when I was playing bass with people and also doing my own band, because there's a sympathetic team energy to any great band, and that's one of the things that I'm most inspired by, kind of.
That's,
you know,
there you know, two rules when it comes to, say, team sports and in bands. You never want to be the best player in your band. You want to surround yourself with people who can up your game.
Yeah, you were all motivating each other to be better.
And then you do play better.
Yeah,
when you're surrounded by better players.
Yeah. There's a history of some people like Art Blakey from Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. It's a jazz reference, but Art Blakey, Miles Davis was another one. There are guys who are known to be great artists, but also have had these waves of incredible young musicians come through their band,
right?
And learn and grow, and then they move on. You know what I mean? And that's a pretty cool, inspiring thing to kind of have, being a coach and being an educator be part of what you do. And sometimes when I'm producing a record, it's like that. Also, I'm in my 40s now. So I'll do sessions and I'll be in bands where I'm the old guy. And then I'll be in other bands where I'm the youngest guy. And other bands where I'm kind of like surrounded by other people and we're all in our 30s and 40s and 50s. We're all kind of, it feels more like we're peers, you know? I mean, we're all peers once you get on the bandstand. But it's pretty cool to be when I still have access to that feeling of being the young guy and having my mind blown by these more experienced guys who are teaching me lessons in the midst of every song we're doing. And then there are other times when I'm the old guy.
When you're the guy, the leader.
And I can kind of make a little coaching comment. I don't want to be rude or snarky or be condescending, of course.
Sure, it doesn't ever come across that way.
This is like this other thing I've done. Let's try this. Yeah. This might work.
Yeah.
And if you bring it up in the right way that's positive, then you know, every once in a while, there's another guy in the band who will come up to you on the break or after the song is like, wow, I wouldn't have thought of doing it that way. And when you described it that way, it was perfect. You know what I mean? Like helping everyone think and be on the same page is kind of one of those elusive but really gratifying things about making music.
Yeah. Ted Russell Kamp is front of house. Ted, it's great to have you here. What do you want to play for us?
Here's a song called Hold On.
When your feelings start to fade and you're tired, lost your way, you've been running like a river to the sea. When you're through with chasing highs, put down your disguise and hold on to me. You've been looking for a friend, a love loyal to the end, who might even know you better than me. When that love has come and gone and you're barely hanging on, then hold on to me. Hold on, you're to hold on to me. Let go without your troubles, let go and let them be, and hold on to me. I'm the one who's always loved you and put nothing else above you. Am I a fool to sit and wait so patiently? Now we can leave your past behind, 'cause someday soon you'll find you can hold on to me. Hold on, you're to know them be. And hold on to me. Let go of all your lovers. Let go and let them be. Hold on to me. Now you can hold on to me.
Ted Russell Kamp, front of house. Man, it's a pleasure to hear some goddamn good music.
Thank you.
I am happy you're here. Now, something, I believe it's got to be positively surreal, has just come around in your life that I really want to talk about. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, believe that you would be in a band with a founding member of Guns N' Roses?
No, it's incredible.
You're
It's
playing
incredible.
with Duff McKagan.
And even wilder, I'm playing bass
Yeah,
in Duff McKagan's band.
that was my next question.
Yeah.
How does that happen? Now, what is Duff doing then?
Duff is going to sing and play acoustic guitar.
Okay.
And so this is a new record that he wrote, and Shooter Jennings produced it.
Yeah. It's called Tenderness, right?
It's called Tenderness, and it comes out, I think, at the end of May. They've released a song, and then I think on May 30th we do our first show, and we got a 2 or 3 week tour around the U.S. They're talking about a 2 or 3 week tour in Europe later in the year.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's incredible. You know, I was describing it to my wife, you know, because I've been a Guns N' Roses fan over the year, but I don't like listen to Guns N' Roses regularly now, you know. So I was telling my wife about it, and I'm like, when I was in high school, one of my first assignments for the school paper was to review Appetite for Destruction. So there, you know, I reviewed the record. And who would have thought the 14-year-old me, who was in one of my first rock bands at the time, would then be playing with Duff McKagan years later, you know. But it's a really good record. It's a really good record. Duff has a lot to say. Really well-written song. Some of it almost reminds me more of like mid-'70s David Bowie rather than the harder rock of that you'd think when you think of Guns N' Roses, you know. But well-written songs. Duff's a great guy and a great singer. And it's the rest of the Shooter Jennings band with me. So we're all friends and used to making music together. And it's going to be a blast.
That's fantastic,
Yeah.
man. Hats off to you. Playing bass in the bass player's band.
That's pretty wild.
You are a bass player's bass player. But I mean, this is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah. And we did
Awesome.
one gig so far. It was a 3-song thing. You know, Jonesy's Jukebox.
Mm-hmm.
So we did it, and we're rehearsing for it the day before. And I'm like, hey, Duff, I know you're you know, if there's anything I'm doing that you don't like or anything you want me to do that's different, just let me know. Yeah. You know, because I'm approaching it like getting into his style of playing. That's of course part of his sound, you know. And so I want to be myself a little bit, but I want to do him justice. I'm not going to like come in and just do my own thing,
Sure,
whatever that would be. So I'm trying to do it justice, but then kind of add little bits and not do it entirely note for note. And every single step, he's like, no, man, it sounds great. It's awesome. I couldn't do it as well as you. Like he literally said that to me. So it's like, just be yourself, do your thing.
That's beautiful.
So it's been great. It's been great.
Now, Jonesy's Jukebox, that's over on KLOS now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I used to, in my radio days, I used to have artists come in and play.
Uh-huh.
And the way we set it up in the radio station is, you know, we got all these RE20s, these Royer broadcast microphones, and they're all on big mic arms, and we just essentially start miking instruments with all of this. I'm curious if KLOS has a little side room. Do they got stuff set up? Are you right there in the booth? What's going on?
They might do it differently if it was just like an acoustic duo, or like if Duff wanted to come in and play acoustic, and Shooter, they just did an interview for a while. But they had a whole stage, and they set us up, and they had a professional. I think we all brought our own amps and our own drums and stuff.
Okay.
But they had, professional drum mics and overheads and bass DI and all that stuff.
Okay, that's great.
It wasn't like, no, but I've definitely done a bunch of radio station visits
where you got there's a mic. They put a vocal mic on your guitar, and then you got one to sing.
6 mics on those groovy boom stands. And they just aim one in the general direction of every musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the science works. I mean, it can make for a fantastic performance. But I would hope, and I like your answer. I'm glad that they have a kind of separate setup for something like that, because it's a
very
big deal.
Professional and really well done.
Good,
yeah.
Good. What was I going to ask you? I remember a while back in my radio days, I would reach out to artists who were like me on tour, maybe because the radio station I worked for was in Santa Barbara, and if a good artist was coming to the Santa Barbara Bowl, I'd reach out, before the show to their label and be like, hey, you want to come on and do a quick something with me? And I've always been a fan of Robin Ford.
Oh, yeah. Great.
And found out that Robin Ford lives in Ojai. And I thought, Ojai is just a, stone's throw from Santa Barbara. Let's get this guy in the studio to play. And I'll never forget this moment. Robin told me, yes, I will come in and interview, but I will not play. And I was like, in my mind, yeah, we'll see about that. So I had this cherry red Fender acoustic electric that it was like my second guitar, and I love this thing. I'm like, I'm going to polish this up and get it all in tune. I'm just going to set it here. I'm just going to set it here on the radio counter. There's no way someone like Robin Ford is going to see this guitar and not play.
And not want to play.
It's going to be like, ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
So about 3/4 of the way through our interview, Robin is eyeing the guitar. And in my mind, I'm going, oh, it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
He's going to ask. And he goes, what's that guitar there for? For me to sign? And I said, yes. So
that's fun. So you got Robin Ford's signature on the
guitar? So I got Robin
guitar?
Ford's signature on the guitar, which is great.
That's funny.
It was not there for that, but that's what we got. And he was a man that was true to his word. But, yeah, anyway, funny story. So, let's see. Do you feel like picking up the bass? Playing a little bass song for us?
Sure, man.
Let's make that switch. Again, I will tell you, friends, the album from Ted Russell Kamp, Kamp spelled with a K, it's called Walking Shoes. It's got this fantastically drawn profile of TRK. And I can't wait to listen to this record. Again, go to tedrussellkamp.com and buy the record there. I'm all for, all this music stuff being free all the time. That's all great and good. But songwriters and performers need to make money. That's how we get more songwriters and performers. So support the art and get the record Walking Shoes at tedrussellkamp.com. This is Ted Russell Kamp, front of house.
So here's a newer solo bass song. It's on the new record. And actually, this is the last song I finished for the record. It's called Highway Whisper. And when I was writing this, I started writing this song about 10 years ago with a friend of mine, Carrie Ott, in Nashville. And we came up with part of the chord progression in the verse and the title, Highway Whisper. But the rest of the song was never... it never made it onto a record. There was always something missing, and I didn't know what it was. It's kind of like the song didn't know what it wanted to be yet. And then as the rest of this kind of traveling, Walking Shoes, road songs album started evolving, I was thinking about the title. And I was reminded when I grew up in New York, and when I finished college, I moved to Seattle. And we used to live... about 2 blocks off of the I-5, off of this major interstate, but up over a hill. So you couldn't see the highway from our apartment. And now I moved there with my girlfriend, and we were both like 20, 21, and my dream was to be a musician. And I was like playing with people on the street and getting every funky $50 gig I could find, and answering ads in the newspaper to find musicians. And every once in a while, I would just open up the window, and the highway sounded like a river.
Yeah.
Didn't sound like a highway. Well, of course, you caught it at the wrong time. You'd hear screeching brakes and horns and stuff. But I used to open up that window when I got home from my gigs, and I would just kind of dream and wish and drink in the sound of that highway/river, and think about the musicians I was hoping to meet, and the music I was hoping to play, and the career I was hoping to have. And the dream that the highway, and it can take you who knows where, kind of all encapsulated. And I wrote the song in about, I completely rewrote the song in about 2.5 days. So here it is, Highway Whisper.
When the night finally goes down on this town, and the quiet of the night is the only friend you've found. If you listen, you can hear it in the distance, that highway whisper all around. Now the cars, they don't know just where they're going, and the stars don't need to know, they light the way. And no river ever cares just where she's flowing, if she makes it there someday. Well, highway whisper just enough to bring me home, and highway whisper everything I wish I'd known. When there's no one else around to hear that lonesome sound, whisper so I know I'm not alone. Have you seen the moon crawl across the sky? And have you heard the traffic hum as the hours roll by? Well, I'm not asking you for much, just a horizon and a touch of a hobo's lullaby. Well, highway whisper just enough to bring me home, and highway whisper everything I wish I'd known. Now when there's no one else around to hear that lonesome sound, whisper so I know I'm not alone. Won't you whisper so I know I'm not alone? Every road I found when I was weary, and every dream I savored as a child, one footstep at a time is enough to ease this worried mind. and give me strength to walk another mile. When the highway you whisper just enough to bring me home, and highway you whisper everything I wish I'd known. Now when there's no one else around to hear that lonesome sound, whisper so I know I'm not alone. Won't you whisper so I know I'm not alone?
Ted Russell Kamp, our guest this week on Front of House. Be sure to tune in next Music Monday for part 2 of the interview and performance from the grooviest bass player in the land, my man, TRK. That's Ted Russell Kamp. Again, you can go to his website, tedrussellkamp.com. Now, here on Front of House, we end the show, at least the audio broadcast of the podcast. We end it in several different ways. You always get one more stereo music track coming your way. And we think of a lot of different ways to bring that extra track to you. Well, you might remember in the interview you just heard with Ted Russell Kamp, he was talking about a song released on the album Walkin' Shoes called Freeway Mona Lisa. And I asked him if he was going to play it. And he gave me a flat nope. So I've decided we're going to close this episode of Front of House with the produced version of that song from the album Walkin' Shoes. One more track from Ted Russell Kamp to take us home. This is Freeway Mona Lisa, and you are Front of House.
Your hair so gracefully from your eyes so black. Road stretches out before you like your lover's back. The blue mountains and the curve of your tan dawn leading down to the road. Your only companion is the mystery you hold. The sun belongs to you. The sun belongs to you. The sun belongs to you. Now the sun belongs to my heart again as you ride away. Will you steal it with the wind each time the sun's heat fades? Would you feel me next to you if I was by your side? Or would you look my way? Would you even try? The sun belongs to you. The sun belongs to you. The sun belongs to you.
the sun belongs to you. I said the sun belongs to you.
Freeway Mona Lisa from the album Walkin' Shoes, written by Ted Russell Kamp and Eric DeVries, and great BGVs from Emily Zuzik and Jamie Wyatt on that track. Big thanks to Ted Russell Kamp. You can go to tedrussellkamp.com and pick up all of his records there. Hit the share button on whatever podcast platform you listen to and share this show with a friend. Visit us on Patreon at patreon.com/frontofhouse. Remember, for the low, low price of just $3 a month, you get at least 4 mastered MP3s, one of a kind, made right here in the North Hollywood Hideout in Los Angeles, California. Every single week into your inbox, just go to patreon.com/frontofhouse. And be sure to tune in next Tuesday night when we show you the video of Ted Russell Kamp live in the North Hollywood Hideout on another episode of Front of House Live. I'm Mike Dawson. Until next time, don't be a don't be. Do be a do be. This is Front of House.